Good evening. Thanks for joining us. Cammy's off tonight. It's a project said to be years in the making. The South Bridge interchange is expected to be one of the last interchanges to be constructed on I-41. As work continues to expand the interstate from 4 lanes to 6 lanes from Appleton to De Pere, officials are celebrating the progress made so far on that project. Samantha Cavalli has more on today's event about how things are shaping up in this First Alert traffic update.
The South Bridge interchange here in De Pere is an essential piece of the puzzle that together will improve safety and the traffic flow from the Fox cities all the way to Green Bay.
On Friday, state and local leaders gathered to celebrate the accomplishments so far on the interchange project, as well as the I-41 project. The new Diamond interchange will consist of 4 roundabouts and 2 on and off ramps connecting I-41 and South Bridge Road, providing cities like De Pere and the town of Lawrence easier access to the highway. DOT officials anticipate nearly 15,000 to 20,000 cars a day will travel on the newly constructed interchange once it's complete.
We're definitely ahead of schedule as far as where we thought we would be. Weather's played a big factor in that.
I-41 project manager Kyle Tremmel has a personal connection to the project. He lives in the town of Lawrence and says it's great to work on something this important right in his own backyard.
You know, previously I worked on I-41 29 interchange, so working on this is very comparable. It's a very similar project, a lot of impacts, and you know, it's pretty cool to have a new interchange in Brown County. You know, I don't know, might be the last one we have.
Just behind me here is the beginning stages of the South Bridge interchange. However, this project wouldn't be possible without the South Bridge Connector project that was funded by Brown County, connecting interstates 43 and 41. Brown County Executive Troy Streckenbach has been one of the lead voices in the nearly $180 million project expected to begin in spring 2025. He says seeing the construction and picturing the impact it will have to multiple Brown County communities is a big deal.
Because the reality is, how often are you building interchanges in a community, let alone a bridge over a large river? This doesn't happen that often.
The construction work along I-41 may be an inconvenience over the next 5 years, but it will undoubtedly improve communities along the interstate corridor long into the future.
Construction on the interchange is expected to be completed by late 2026. In De Pere, Samantha Cavalli, Action 2 News.